So I suspect that the conditions are getting a bit easier. So here we are for the second semi-final of the men's 8. I'll just run through it. Russia lane 1, Ukraine lane 2, Germany fine crew lane 3, Netherlands lane 4, France lane 5, Italy lane 6 closest to us. Again, Germany, a very, very strong crew, as is the Dutch crew, and I would expect to see those two featuring very, very heavily in this. Particularly in the early stages, they'll want to lay their marker down and make sure that they've got a really good pace, really good clean start, get themselves into the body of this race as quickly as they possibly can. Indeed, as the crews approach that through that 500-meter marker, Germany just lead the Netherlands. Very little in it. Quick first 500 there, 1:21 in these conditions. These two crews settling down stroke for stroke at the moment.
Dutch crew in lane 4 there, unchanged from the crew that took the silver medal at Lucerne, just squeezed out ahead of the Germans. And of course it was the relatively unfancied Russians who we're now seeing over on the far side who took the gold medal on that occasion. But both the Russians and the Germans have decided to switch the crew around a little. They brought in 3 new men each, so that the Russians by no means are complacent after their victory on the Swiss Lake. But still, it's the Germans and the Dutch who lead the way home. All with substantial nucleus of crews remaining from last year's championships, where the Dutch again took silver ahead of the Germans in 4th. And spare a thought, of course, for the Ukrainians in lane 2. 6 out of the 8 men we're seeing here today were in the crew that achieved some sense of notoriety last year by being the only 8 to be disqualified from the World Championships in Indianapolis after 2 false starts.
So into the second 1,000 of this race, 3 to go through, as they just go through that 1250-meter mark. Germany just leading Holland in second place, with Russia in lane 1, lying 3rd, with the what can only be described evergreen Nikolai Pimenov, one half of the famous Pimenov brothers who are so successful in the pair.
Yes, a lot of these crews have brought in their seasoned internationals to try and bolster up their performance, and Nikolai Pimenov is certainly not the only man in this field to do so. I'm thinking especially of Roland Barr, the German stroke, who has stroked more German 8s to gold medal success than virtually any other oarsman. Familiar sight there in the stern end with his shock of blonde hair. And the Dutchman Florin and Rinks, they're the 7 men and stroke man in the Dutch crew. World champions in heavyweight double sculls a few years back. And they've been the nucleus of the engine room in the Dutch 8 for the last 2 or 3 years. So all 6 international crews here using their seasoned men with good effect.
I think what we're going to find is an extremely high-quality field for the final. It's one of the few years when all the countries have put their big effort into the 8, and it's a splendid last 500 here from the Dutch, who've moved just slightly ahead of the Germans. It looks like they're really piling on the power over this last 30 strokes. Very much looking forward to seeing how this pans out. It's a fine shot there of that Dutch 8, really pushing hard with the legs, sitting back on that stroke, pushing hard. Germans still in there, Russians still up with them, as you'd expect in this field. Very little to choose between them. It's exactly how it's going to be, except with 6 crews in the final. The Dutch look as if they're going to cross the line first. It's a fine effort from that Dutch crew. Obviously decided to make a mark for themselves. They cross the line first, Germany second, with the Russians in 3rd place. Ukraine cross the line 4th, Italy 5th, with France bringing up the rear. Splendid performance there.
Yes, the medalists repeating themselves from Lucerne in that second semi-final of the men's 8s. Just under half a second up on the Germans.
And 3 seconds faster than the winners of the other heat.